Another way to express inequalities is to write them in interval notation. Now this is extra credit on your homework assignment if you translate your solutions, your inequalities, into interval notation. So let's take a moment to talk about how to do that. So here I have a setup of basically the ways to write interval notation. You want to pay attention to this column here. That will be your solution. I'm going to go ahead and walk through some examples to illustrate how to convert inequalities to their interval notation and what they mean. So let's say you have an inequality x is greater than 2. So any value that's larger than 2 will work. So we talked before on the graph of this, so you would have an open circle at 2, and then you would shade to the right since it's all values larger than 2. To write it in interval notation, I need to look at the starting point here. So the starting point is 2, and it's not included. It's not shaded in because there's no equal to sign. So I'm going to use parentheses. Parentheses are always used when the value is not included. We'll use brackets when the value is included. Okay, so we start with 2. And then we draw a comma, and then we have to pick our ending point. But is there an ending point? It just keeps on going forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, great. So we say to infinity and beyond. So we write a nice little infinity sign there. So it goes to positive infinity. So that would be the ending point. Now we can never actually reach infinity, so we'll use parentheses there as well. So that would indicate how to do interval notation for this example. What if we had changed that and made this a equal to sign? Well, we could go ahead and just shade that in, right? Because it's equal to. And we would just change the parenthesis to a bracket next to the 2, because the 2 is included. Notice that the infinity still is not included. It will never be included because we can never reach it. So you'll always have a parenthesis at that point. Let's go the other direction though. What if we had x is less than 4? I'm just picking random numbers at this point, so don't read into that too much. So of course, if we were to graph this, it would be an open circle. It's not equal to, and all the values that are less than 4. Oh, look at that beautiful graph. It's amazing. Now, we want to look, again, what is our starting point? Well, our starting point keeps on going this way for infinity, to the left. I keep forgetting I'm backwards on the screen, but to the left forever. So you would say it's reaching negative infinity, that direction to the left. So our starting point would be negative infinity. Now we can't actually reach negative infinity, so we would use parentheses there, just like positive infinity. Can't actually reach it, so let's just throw in a negative. Now on the right hand, the end point, we can't go beyond this point, would be 4. And then we ask ourselves, do I do a parenthesis or do I do a bracket? Well, since it's not included, there's no equal to, we're going to use parentheses, and there you go. And just like we did above, if we wanted to change this, if this was an equal to, we would just shade that in and change the parenthesis to a bracket. Boom, done. Now, those were if you're going one direction or another, but what if you're between two values? So let's say your x is greater than 2 and less than 4. So something a little bit different here. So we would go ahead, if we were to graph these, we go ahead and draw that number line. We would see that they would both be open circles, not around 1, because there's no 1. It's between 2 and 4, right? So 2 and 4, open circles, and then everything between. So we go ahead and shade between those two values. Now, again, to do interval notation, what's our starting point? Our starting point this time is 2. That's the smallest value possible. Now, It cannot be equal, so we're going to throw a parenthesis. Again, do comma. What is my ending value? My ending value is 4. Can I include that? Nope, not equal, so I do a parenthesis there. What if I had just one of these values as equal to? How would I write that? Well, I would shade in that circle above 4, and I would just change the parenthesis next to the 4 to a bracket. And that would give me the interval notation. And that's all you really need to know about interval notation. Pay attention to whether it's equal to or not. If it's equal, we want to do a bracket. If it's not equal, we want to do a parenthesis. And then basically just make sure you're using positive infinity or negative infinity. So good luck, try it out, and make sure to get that extra credit.